Are love languages the key to successful relationships? Man, let's get into this thing right now. Yeah. It's your boy JD, live and direct to you. You know what it is. Come on and join in. What up? What up? It's your boy JB coming at you live and direct, and you know what it is. It's the Smoke Something, Drink Something podcast. I'm the Real Cigar Jeff. You can find me on Instagram at the Real Cigar Jeff. You can find me on Facebook at Smoke Something, Drink Something podcast. And of course, you're on YouTube, man. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, mash that like button, turn on that bell for notifications, man. And y'all know whenever I bring in a topic like this, are the love languages the key to successful relationships? Y'all know who I got to bring in, man. It's hometown hookup edition time. Y'all know who I got to introduce first. Unfortunately, I hate him being on the podcast as much as he hate being here, but he's a necessary evil, the resident antagonist, the self-proclaimed people's champ. I'm going to let him introduce himself, tell y'all where y'all can find him on the socials and what he's sipping on and what he's smoking on tonight.
It's your boy TLC, as always. Thanks for having me. You can always find me on Instagram at TLClayton1. I'm also at Patreon, The Joke I Didn't Tell. Tonight, I'm doing Jack and Coke. This is the Tennessee Honey.
Coke. Bringing it back.
Yeah, I got the Oliva, the V series.
Nice. It's the Melanie. Yeah, okay. All right. Melanie V series. Okay. Hey, man, you stepping your game up. Look, I'm going to be better, man. I'm going to be better. There you go, bro.
No, you ain't.
It's enough. Yeah, y'all know I got to tell y'all. I called this man to just give him a little update today, and as soon as I called him, this man picked up the phone and said, "Please tell me the podcast is canceled." That's what he said. That's what he said. He didn't say hello. He didn't say what up, JB. Please tell me the podcast is canceled. So just to let y'all know, man, your haters are gonna be the ones closest to you. I call this the hometown hookup edition, but it's about to be the hometown hater edition. Notice I ain't say haters, the hometown hater edition, man. But I appreciate real people having real conversations, TLC.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I appreciate you being on, dog. Y'all know who I got next, man. My A1 from day one, man. I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell y'all where y'all can find her on the socials, and let's see if she's drinking anything tonight. It's been a long day for her, so I'm going to let her take control, tell y'all what she got going on.
What's up, JB? Hey, Torrance.
What's going on?
Thanks for having me back on. JB, it's your girl, Rhonda. You can find me on Instagram at RMBLMBT. Yes, it's been a long couple of days. Have a little first new chapter that I'm trying to pursue, see how that's going to go. So since it's been a day of body work the past couple of days, I'm sipping on water in my nice new by something with
Yeah.
So that's all I'm drinking today. I got to stay hydrated since we got into some stuff today with the body. Back to you, JB.
Y'all see that, man? Y'all see that? It's happening again. I'm telling you. Everybody on the podcast is expanding. I'm telling you, Rhonda blowing up, doing her CE down there, man. That's why the background changed, man. Still committed to being on the podcast. I got one hater and I got one celebrator. And that's all you need. It's one celebrator with you to keep things going, man. And y'all know, man, I'm smoking on my little Cigar International bundle cigar I got right here. You know, one of my bundles, it's a Cohiba derivative. I'm smoking on that tonight. You know, just I want to make sure I don't get too crazy. I want to make sure we dig into this thing. And of course, I'm drinking my Milagro Reposado with my Publix lemonade. It's 100 degrees down here, TLC. So I had to mix some lemonade with this thing because it is hot. It is hot, man. So y'all know I appreciate you coming in, and tonight's topic again are the love languages the key to lasting relationships. Now, TLC, when you got the topic, and before I let you guys in, when you got the topic, I want to know what you're thinking. But what we need to do real fast for the audience, just for everybody who's not familiar, we're going to do. I want to make sure everybody knows, okay, what the 5 love languages what the 5 love languages are if I can find it. I apologize, guys. I should have had this pulled up. I should have had this pulled up. I apologize. But here we go right here. I could have just had Rhonda do it because Rhonda know it like the back of her hand.
No.
But the first one is acts of service. So basically, you run an errand for your partner, cook a meal, complete a household chore. Ron and TLC, can y'all see this?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Give thoughtful and meaningful gifts of any size without an occasion. Physical touch, hug, kiss, hold hands. Quality time. Give your partner undivided attention via exclusive time together. And words of affirmation. Offer verbal compliments and words of appreciation. And so now, just wanted everybody to see that. So TLC, let's get into this thing. When you got the topic, and then Ron, I'm coming to you. What did you think about?
When I first got the topic, I had never really heard of this this book, the 5 love languages. I never heard of it.
Yep,
So when I heard there was a book out about love and relationships, the first thing that came to my mind was actually the Steve Harvey book that everybody went crazy over, the Think Like a Man, Act Like a Lady.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that, and I was like, you know what? People didn't hate what was in the book. They hated the messenger. They didn't have any problem with the opinion of the book, just who was given the opinion. So I just did like a quick lookup of the book because I honestly haven't read the book. So the author, he was from a Baptist church, I believe, or he was from a church. He was a counselor. He counseled couples for their relationships, and basically he compiled this all into a book. And he broke down love into these 5 categories, if you will. And according to my research, it said that a person can jump from one category to another. You're not isolated to one category, which I thought was important. He said you have to have all 5 actually, but you kind of lean towards one more than the other. And with that, I thought, you know what? That's the hook. Kind of like when you see a horoscope. Someone gives you a horoscope, it's going to be true. You can't argue with it. It's going to be some truth to it or something you could take out of it. So when I look at these 5 categories, I'm saying to myself, okay, I agree with that. You could break down love somewhat into 5 categories, but I don't really think you can summarize love just in 5 categories. That's my initial takeaway.
Okay, now TLC. Now, before I come to Rhonda, you took it. What did you come back with?
When I took it, I came back. I think it was like 30%, 33%. The majority of it was quality time.
Quality time. Okay.
But I will say this: I talked to most of my friends maybe a month or 2 ago, and I actually told them, I said, I'm gonna step back from social media and all the time I spend on the phone. I get on the phone from the time the sun comes up to night. I'm just always checking emails. So I've called my people before we even did this article, and I told them, I'm gonna step back a little bit. So to me, I kind of already knew my time was important. My time is valuable. You know what I'm saying? I only got
said no one ever.
I've
been knowing you since '94.
So,
I ain't never heard nobody say that.
Before I did this survey, I kind of already knew that I'm trying to create more time or make more use of the time that I do have. So it wasn't like, oh wow, moment for me when I took the test, but cool.
Opinion. All right. We're going to jump back into this thing because TLC sent me an article we're going to share too, guys. Because TLC did some research on this thing.
That was the deeper research, but
that's the deeper research. We're going to get to that a little bit later on in the podcast. I got it queued up here to go. All right, Rhonda, look, man, when you got the topic, I know you fluent in this thing. You always talked about it in the previous podcast. So when you got the topic, tell me what you would think.
Of course, I was a little excited because I've known some people who had read about these particular love languages from probably almost maybe 20 years ago when I first read the book. And I was with another organization, and it was part of just that personal development along those lines of things like that. We read a bunch of different authors, but that was one of the ones that we did read. We always had a book of the month. So I was a little excited because I know a lot of people who use this as a measurement of how they could break the ice with their partner if they've kind of separate from each other, growing apart from each other. It's just a way to try to get things back. So I thought it was interesting. I haven't taken the test in years, but I did take it way back. And
what were your results?
Well, I really don't remember exactly the percentages of stuff, but I was definitely a quality time person.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's surprising.
I too, like Torrance, value my time. I value it even more so now. So you just can't waste my time with some bull.
Oh, okay.
Why would you say that's surprising?
Bro, you the moderator? You the moderator? Okay, I ain't know it was open forum time yet. My bad. I'm sorry, Randy. You got an unofficial, unauthorized question. Go ahead.
You didn't. No. My question was for you.
Somebody in the chat too.
No. My question was for you. Why did you say it was surprising that she said quality time?
Well, I mean, again, I just asked her what would it have been. I wouldn't have thought it would have been.
To be honest, that was honest. Could have been physical touch. Like, give me some.
That's what I was going for.
It could have been both. It could have been both.
I wouldn't have guessed it because and again, that's just me now. Look, when I took this years ago, because everybody had to take it, it was kind of like one of those fad things.
Personality test.
Well, TLC, you got to remember, if you were in any type of corporate setting or anything like that, this thing just kind of took off. And to be honest, when I got mine back in the day, mine was words of affirmation. And the reason mine was words of affirmation. And so and not that the other ones didn't matter, but the acts of service it gives, the physical touch, the quality time, not that the other ones didn't matter, but when you're a sales rep, when you're in sales and marketing and all that kind of stuff, naturally the words of affirmation, because that's all you do every day is you kissing, you shaking hands and kissing babies.
You getting beat down or picked up?
Yeah, well, yeah, basically, but you know what? Look, at the end of the day, you get taught to love the word no. So if you don't lie to yourself and tell yourself to keep going, that's why the words of affirmation for me. And yes, I do affirm myself daily, right? See, I had to learn I'm in love with myself, TLC. But let's get into this thing for a little bit. Now, the question is, are they the key to lasting relationships? Now, TLC, that's a yes or no question. I don't want to hear no it depends and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, you're
Give
not?
me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no.
No.
Okay. They're not. Okay, Rhonda, what do you think?
I think they, for certain mainstream, yes. I think it is. I think people put a lot of weight into this.
See, TLC, Rhonda can have a caveat. You can't. Now, Rhonda,
My bad.
So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen because we about to get in. Everybody kind of remember these, right? So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen so I can see y'all a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. And so y'all pay attention to the chat, man. We got people contributing to it, but now my answer is no. My answer is no, and TLC, I can't believe that we are actually agreeing. And I like that Rhonda said yes. Now TLC, I don't know what you got going on over there. All I see is your finger.
I had to pull the chat.
Oh, he checking the chat. Okay, yeah. So my answer is no. And the reason my answer is no is simple. Because I think what happened is typically when you pull something from a religious organization, it works as long as it's confined to that organization. Once you start having the challenges of things outside of religion come into that relationship, now all of a sudden, people don't care about these 5 things. People don't care about these 5 things. And that's why I'm glad that TLC did research, because this is a guy who did this thing in a church setting. And y'all know that's the best part about church. And we did the religion destroy or uplift relationships a couple podcasts ago. Now, why am I saying it? I think fundamentally he's right as long as you're in church all the time, right? I think as long as you're in church all the time, that's the best part about church. And we've all grown up in church. We've all go to church. Church had you thinking God is in your life while you're there. The moment you walk out of there, here comes Satan smacking the crap out of you, beating you down. And so I think what happened is I think when this love language got challenged in the corporate world, now all of a sudden you find out basically that the person you with, y'all are not synergistic at all. And I like what TLC said. Everybody kind of leans toward one. But if you lean toward it, that's what you are. Right? I don't want. Look, man. If you lean toward one, right, that's what you are. TLC, you shaking your head. Jump in there, brother.
I agree with everything you said up until the last point, though. Just because you take the test now and you're in one category, according to him, the author, whatever his name was, Gary Chapman, he said that you could switch. Well, you can move from another category. Just depends on what you have going on in your life.
Yeah, once he or she piss you off, you move into a different category.
And that's the part that kind of got me like, nah, I don't really believe. I don't put too much into this at that point. Because touching on what you said before, religion, you know, if you have any type of religion, there's a point of redemption for any religion. It doesn't matter what you do. There has to be some redemption quality there. So I was looking at this the same way, like, okay, you get with a couple and you might say, okay, well, you tested great for quality time. Then when the woman's with you, guess what? She's with me too much now. She's getting on my damn nerves. Oh, well, there has to be a way of redemption some of the way. Well, okay, well, now that you have quality time, you've moved on into another category, is my understanding.
But stop right there, TLC. Stop right there. And then I want Rhonda TLC, you got to stop right there. And then I want Rhonda to jump in there. See, that's the problem with this. You can't say that's my words. You can't say this is my love language. But then when I give you too much of it, I got to stop. If I'm in France, I ain't never speaking too much French. Oh, Jeff, now you give me too much French. And you know, hey, look, we took Madam Taylor around. I'm fluent in French. I'm fluent in French. TLC, I'm fluent in French. Madam Taylor taught me. Everybody from back at the crib who listening to this, we knew some French now. We knew some French.
Okay.
But well, I ain't know that much. But what I'm saying is I knew enough to not have to take it in college, because when we graduated high school, we ain't had to take French because Madam Taylor taught us. But how can I see? This is the whole point. This is why this thing doesn't work. You can't tell me that if I go run the Publix, and that is your acts of service is your language. Ron, if you can come back into your screen a little bit. There you go. Yeah, right there. If you got acts of service, and I'm the one that goes to the grocery store, and now when we get in the argument, now you done changed to a gift person. Well, man, I went to the store for you. I got the groceries. I'm doing everything. I'm running the errand. Well, no, I don't want that now. Notice, and the reason why I don't agree that this is the key to lasting relationships is because you can't shift to another language once I start doing one language well. See, and that's where a lot of people struggle with this. And in religion, everybody stay the same. That's the key to religion. Nothing ever changes. Nothing ever changes. And because you're in church all the time, you gonna stay the same. But when you get out here in the real world, you gonna bounce from communication style to communication style. Like I've taken DISC assessments, I've taken Myers-Briggs, all that kind of stuff. But how all of a sudden, if I become a master at running errands and doing all the acts of service, now all of a sudden you gifts? What? How did that happen? How did I become the broke MFer now? I was running the errand. Well, you don't buy me no gifts. Go ahead, Rhonda, jump in there. Let me know what you think.
No, because look, we evolve as people, right? We've said it plenty of times on this podcast. We're not the same that we were at the age of 19, 20, 25, even 30, probably, even 40 for us. Like you things change, right? And so, like I said, that's why I said when I took it 20 years ago, that was my love language. But now it could be totally different because, like you said, where I am, like in my life. Now, do I think it's detrimental or long lasting to your relationship? No, I don't think you should put that much emphasis on it. But I think it's a good tool if you're trying to get back on track or trying to find some type of way. Because I will say this, when I did read the book, when I did take the test, I was in church a lot.
Yes.
But so were the people that were around me at the time. My tribe that was around me at the time was also, of course, you're going to follow those same things that with where you are. Now you can't pay me to read this book.
And it's so funny, Rhonda, but I'm glad what you just said. Y'all, TLC, I'm going to come right to you. Rhonda is right when she said it works. And what you got to understand, guys, is know your environment. Know your environment. Because if y'all got the same routine daily and you're in this established relationship, or your relationship is coming out of a rough patch or a rocky road or whatever, and y'all need something to say, all right, how can I get back on track? This is a good way of kind of identifying, okay, what are you looking for from me? And the hardest part about the love languages is once I tell you my love language, now I got to sit there and listen to your love language. Well, I don't want to hear your love language, right? And this is the whole point. I'm a Leo. It's just certain. It's just certain people. If I hear what your sign is, hey, yeah, this ain't gonna work. And I think this is what happens with love languages is because I like how Rhonda segmented it out right there. We were all in church all the time. And so now, if your relationship is not stuck in one place all the time or the same routine all the time, once this gets challenged, it's volatile. It's volatile. Now I need a compliment. Well, you just said you wanted me to run the Publix. Right? Now when certain things happen, you don't know what this person is. And that's why I'm saying this ain't the key to lasting relationships. This is the key to struggling relationships looking to get back on track. TLC, jump in and let me know what you're thinking. Because that's why I'm glad Rhonda brought that out. That's the today. Go ahead, TLC.
Rhonda brought up another good point when she said, you can't pay me to read this book now. It's funny you should mention that because the author wrote like 6 other books that were spinoffs of this one. I haven't read any of his books, but I just happened to look through his bio. He's got like the 5 love languages for teenagers, the 5 love languages for married couples.
He carving that turkey, TLC.
The 5 love languages for people over 50.
Yes,
I'm just like,
it's the Thanksgiving leftovers, TLC. We got turkey sandwich, turkey casserole.
Me and JB had this conversation. Well, we have this conversation all the time about real estate, where it just seems like everybody that's making money off of real estate is doing something else other than selling real estate. You're either teaching a class, you're doing a lecture, you're writing a book, you're doing seminars,
selling leads.
Yeah, that's what this guy's doing, Gary. So he's made money off this book, and then he's like, well, you know what? Like Rhonda, people don't want to pay to read this book 20 years later, so I gotta make another book. I gotta make another spinoff. And if your system is so great, why you gotta change it? If it's that great, if it's working, then
because people change environments. People changed environments in 20 years, 10 years, right? And y'all got to understand, I'm going to bring it up because it's starting to creep its little ugly head up again. COVID, right? When people couldn't go to church, when people couldn't go to all these things they did that could suppress the real problem in their relationship, it don't matter what your love language is. Because you know what happened when COVID came? Everybody's love language was, I hate your ass. Right? Because now you just stuck in here with this person. And a lot of people don't have relationships set up where they actually spend time together. A lot of people, relationships are set up where they don't spend time together. And I never learned that. That the moment they locked people down, people's love language just became hate. And I know that's not one of his, but it just became hate because they never had any separation from each other. See, y'all got to understand, I've been a traveling salesperson, and even in the entrepreneurial world, I'm never home. But when I do come home, I know what I got to do. And a lot of people are going to the same place, doing the same thing every day. And that's one of the things that makes this struggle is that if you change somebody's environment, you change somebody's situation. Rhonda wasn't doing her own thing like she's doing now, right? She wasn't teaching a course like she's teaching now. You see what I'm saying, TLC? And I like how you brought it up. This man's carving this turkey up as much as he can because his true audience is church folks. That's why if you read a Joel Osteen book, it sounds good for people who go to church. But once you try to apply it to business, it won't work. Why? I can't mention the G word at work. I can't mention the J word at work. I can't say faith at work. I can't pray at work. I can't do all that stuff. So the stuff you're telling me to do is not applicable outside of that environment. Rhonda, jump in there, give us a little bit more meat off of that bone you were giving us.
No, I mean, I think it's self-explanatory with that environment how key it is. Like we can't go back to plum crazy. As much fun
ain't that the truth,
right? But we can't go back.
Truth.
Right? I mean, burn the road up from my ECU days to get up.
Yes, and we were waiting on you with the drinks. We had the drinks waiting.
Now, if somebody said, "Ooh, Ron, let's go to this club." Club where? Club 235. My house. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just different, right? Not that.
The viewer said, "What was that address again?"
Ron, don't repeat your house number. Don't repeat your house. The Bitcoin dude just heard it. The Bitcoin dude gonna be there.
But but it's just a different environment. But I do know with how we talked about on the other podcast, like you said, Jeff, about religion, and Torrance gave us all those good stats on the divorce rate with certain religions. Um, Christians got to make their way right in a lot of cases. And this book is a way to do that, right? Because we supposed to
Mm-hmm.
love everybody. We
Yeah.
supposed to love. I mean, I like your tale, but we supposed to love everybody. And so here go this book with the love languages. And yeah, like I said, when I was in that environment, it made a whole lot of sense to do that because it gave me something else to talk to about these with these people, right? It gave me
Yes.
something else to
Yes.
relate to with them. Well, they reading it, so I better read it. The only
Mm-hmm.
person that I really read outside of that environment I was in is Miles Monroe. The only one
Yeah.
that I still listen to, right? But he came from not only a kingdom mindset, but from a business mindset.
From
So
a
that's
business
why I'm still
mindset.
listening
Yep.
to him, right? So with these love languages, you get a female who is hurting in her marriage, and you ask her, well, how do you want to be loved? You just tugged on her heartstrings. Because Lord, I've been praying for this man
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
love me right, to do this for me, to do that for me. Da, da, da. He don't even want to be at home, right? And then the man could be like, well,
Hold on, Rhonda. Stop right there. You just preached. You just preached. People don't even want to be at home.
oh, yeah.
Right. And now all of a sudden, the one thing I realized in a bunch of relationships, I'm gonna go back to what you said, Rhonda, because you talked about I love you, but I don't like you. One of the things I see in relationship, people can't even, I mean, I said it, man, you got to do three things. I done said it on 3 previous podcasts. You got to smoke, drink, and eat. You got to do 2 out of 3. Right? But look, man, these cats don't want to come home. Women don't want to come home. Guys don't want to come home. One of the future podcasts we're going to do is the work spouse ruining your relationship. Is the work spouse ruining the relationship, TLC? Now, we gonna get this thing because one of the reasons people don't want to come home is because of the work wife or the work husband. Go ahead, TLC, jump in there.
That was gonna be my point that I was gonna bring up next. And I didn't read the book, but you have 5 love languages, but just because you're wanting one doesn't mean you want one from the person you're with. You might want quality time, but what if you want? I mean, what if you want quality time from somebody else?
So what you saying is different for the work wife versus the work spouse versus the real spouse.
I'm just saying, just because you're in need of something emotionally doesn't mean you want it from the person that's there with you.
I guess I struggle a little bit because I see so many people that can't spend time with the person they with. Right? They can't spend time. Like for me, it's just like, how do you struggle spending time with like how you can? Yeah, that perplexes me, and I'm glad Rhonda brought it up because one of the things we're talking about is how many things translate to real life. It sounds good in that environment, but now, like TLC said, like, look, I got this love language for you on this, but with other people, this is my love language. Especially if you're dating and you're dating multiples. I guess if you're married and dating multiples, I guess I got to throw that in there for the podcast out there. But your love language is different because guess what? Your environment makes you different. And a lot of people struggle because depending on the environment they're in, they change. TLC, go ahead, man. I can tell you did some research tonight.
You know, I want to break this whole thing down because I saw some problems. I saw some problems with it.
You saw.
Like, yeah, again, I think another problem with this is that I think a person might get too fixated on their primary love language. So I think I did like quality time, but it was only like 33% quality time. The other thing might have been receiving gifts. I didn't even look to see what the second one was, but let's say that. Okay, if I'm spending time with somebody, you give me your time, but don't show up empty-handed, you know? Like you might want 2 or 3 things off of this.
Hold on. So you saying if I'm spending time with you, you got to start bringing some gifts?
If that's your second, you know, when you took the survey, because my first one was quality time.
But see, here's the deal. But see, this is why this doesn't work outside of religion, right? Because if I'm spending time with you, I ain't making no money. What did it say, Rhonda? If I'm at home, I'm broke. Bobby Womack said it.
If I'm there, I'm broke.
If I'm there, I'm broke. Right?
Yeah,
so you literally cannot say, I want you spending time with me and you want gifts. It don't work. If I'm there, I'm broke.
So if a person really has a problem with their relationship, they don't need the 5 love languages. They just need some Bobby Womack.
Yeah.
No. Look, let me tell you this. I think what they need See, what y'all got to understand, this came from a religious perspective, and we're going to pull up the article at TLC. This came from a religious perspective. And one of the biggest things religious people have a problem with is money. Because when you in that environment all the time, paying the cover charge, paying the 10%, paying all of this, giving this, hoping God going to be like Aladdin and come out a genie in a bottle, now all of a sudden you wonder, you ain't got no money to buy gifts. But now you're so frustrated, you can't get words of affirmation. You see what I'm saying? And one of the things this thing don't take into context of is the actual. So I ain't gonna hold your hand if we broke. What we holding hands for? You see what I'm saying, TLC? Like, look, try to hold somebody's hand and you broke. Try to hold somebody. If both of y'all broke, ain't no holding hand. Ain't no holding hand. Now, if one of you broke and the other one doing okay, y'all gonna hold hands. You can get through it. But if both of y'all broke, ain't no holding hand. Ain't no holding hands, TLC. And one of the things this guy doesn't account for is this is something that sounds good if you stuck in that environment. But one of the things I'm seeing with this thing is it doesn't take into account the financial position. It doesn't take into account the professional position. Okay? Right? And Lord Jesus, y'all see. Angry woman back there. Angry woman back there in the back. But it doesn't take into consideration all the external factors once I leave a church marriage counseling session or a marriage or a family conference or whatever drove him to do this. And that's why I think I want to go there real fast. If y'all don't mind. I'm going to pull up the article that TLC sent. Y'all let me know. I want y'all to see this title. The bigot who wrote the 5 love languages might hate you. Now, look, guys, let me share this. Hold on. Now, TLC, reason why I'm going there, I'm glad you sent this article. Okay? The reason why
let me just say this before we get into
Lord, Jesus.
Just so people understand, I've never read this book, and I've really never heard of this guy. So I was like, if this book is so popular and everything, why isn't he getting more publicity? Why is he not more mainstream?
TLC, you hood. There's a difference in being rich and hood rich, right? So he's church popular. He's not world popular. Okay, that's what I wanted y'all to see. The bigot who wrote the 5 love languages might hate you, right? And then look at who's writing this. Right? Therapist Lauren L. I don't know what LMHD and NCC mean, but here's the deal. She's licensed.
Yeah,
she's licensed. Licensed mental health. What, Ron?
I would say counselor.
Licensed mental health counselor. I don't know what NCC stands for. Right? So the reason why I'm saying that is this is a person who had to get her certification through outside means of religion. Right? So let's go back into this thing now. Fake marriage counselor has no counseling degree, no credentials. I said TLC has come through for the podcast. Fake marriage counselor has no counseling degree, no credentials.
And look at the picture.
And why they got him on the picture like that? Why they got him posing like that, right? See, this is what's gonna happen to us guys. We up here telling everybody what they should do with their relationship. People gonna be like, man,
we don't say we're experts. We're just real people having conversations.
We have real people, real conversation. Do not take this advice, guys. Y'all don't look. This is entertainment purposes only. We just trying to get a YouTube algorithm. Do not do this in your house, right? Do not do this in your house. Now, so TLC. This is a good article that you sent, right? Back in 1992 under Christian literature, even though he was never and is not a real counselor. TLC, we're going to break this article down with the time we got left because this lady just started eating him up from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
This is what I'm telling y'all. Religious stuff does not travel outside of those 4 walls. That's why when this thing got out there, the first thing that happened is people who had to go through a certain formal education, because in church, I can be a doctor. Now I ain't got no PhD, but in church, I can get called these titles. TLC,
just throw some oil out there.
So, look, TLC, I keep my oil with me just in case you need prayer. TLC, and cause if I got to lay hands, you never know. But what happens is, look at what this lady said. even though he is never and not a real counselor. Now, this dude has a PhD. He has a doctorate degree, but she coming at him, guys. She coming at him. And I wanted to put this in here. And look at that topic. Look at that title, TLC. Look at that. The secret to love that lasts. They walking on the beach and all that. What they didn't tell you is after they drew that heart, they started fighting.
Oh Lord.
She eating him up. Chapman wrote content specifically directed toward heteronormative Christian couples and ripped off Real Therapy to get his content. Part of his desire for a Christian-based marketer and publisher in the 90s was and continues to be based on his extreme fundamental Christian beliefs. He wanted the book marketed only to heterosexual cisgender couples. Boy, I said, oh my God. TLC. Boy, when you sent this thing, I said, oh my God. Go ahead, TLC.
What I was looking for when I was looking for articles was like, because I'm in sales myself, I'm looking for a number, a rate. Oh, he's helped over 1,000 couples, stay together or anything. Like, I don't see any numbers on him. You're not. And that's
you ain't gonna find it.
Oh.
We can go back to the previous podcast when you talked about born again Christians and the divorce rate. So the love languages ain't working.
But that's what I was wondering. Like, how many people have read this book are still together? Like, that's
no, they probably still together, but their love languages, we can't stand each other. Y'all ain't see those in the other. That's the love language book I'm gonna write, right? So like Real Cigar K just said in the chat, once you read these things, if the person you're with doesn't subscribe to what you read, you're going to be angry, right? And that's what this lady is already getting at, which is I'm targeting. This book became a Christian book that got outside of the four walls. That's why I said it's not the key to a lasting relationship unless you're knee deep in your religion. And y'all need to go back and listen to that podcast where we did where is religion destroying or uplifting relationships. But now, Rhonda, what you thinking as you see this so far?
Listen, when I read this thing this morning, I ain't even have time to respond to y'all. Because, she cut him off at the knees so bad. I'm like, damn. So that's literally what I thought, and I didn't have time to go all the way into it. But it was just like, damn, but I'm not surprised with where I am now. With my
Rhonda, look. And Rhonda, I know that I never, when TLC sent this, guys, and if TLC wouldn't have sent this conversation would have gone a whole different way. I want y'all to see this one because it's three minorities on this. This thing said throughout the last 30 years, he revamped it. He revamped the 5 love languages to address singles, seniors, Christians, military, but not which branch, men, kids, teens, and just about any random niche of persons except for women, interracial couples, Black and brown minorities, and LGBTQ plus.
Half the world. Half the country.
Yes. Look, let me tell you this. But TLC, when you said this, and I said, okay, this white lady, basically said, if you are a woman, interracial, and we ate Black and brown or LGBTQ, this ain't for you.
Everybody.
I said, bruh, I'm like, God, dog. She went in on. TLC, she went in on him, TLC.
Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had never heard this guy. But once I read this article, I was like, this is why. This is why. He's not getting mainstream media. And this is why. Yeah.
Well, because guess what? This is we talked about anger, right? And Real Cigar K just put it in the chat. Chapman wrote this bogus psychoeducational book about anger, as if he had any insight to into this very serious topic. Chapman told the New York Times that people do not want to read an academic book. He's not a trained counselor in any sense. Look at that. Anger, taming a powerful emotion. Well, why should I be angry if my love language is working? You see what I'm saying, TLC? Once I run the Publix for you, now you're mad because I ain't get you a gift while I was at Publix. Well, you just said you wanted some bologna, some cheese, and some bread.
That's your gift.
Well, you didn't bring me back no little daddy cakes. Right.
Which brings me back to where I started at the podcast with Steve Harvey, his book.
Yeah.
They didn't hate necessarily what was in the book. They just hated the messenger.
Yes. TLC. And this is what happens, right? She's saying Chapman also co-authored a KKK reminiscent book, Winning the Race to Unity, where he blames reverse racism for the white Christian problem. So now here's the funny thing, guys. Then it says, interestingly, a sixth love language, distance, emerged without Chapman's consent. Distance was drafted by a person who possesses insight and self-awareness and found themselves annoyed that all five of the other languages are behaviors that intentionally cause interaction by the people. Go ahead, Ron.
But can you scroll up a little bit and go back to that paragraph? You didn't read it, but it says, go real slow. It said basically, oh my God, where she calls him little JC.
Yes, and in the front to what Lil JC himself preached.
Yes. I was dead. I said,
you mean to everybody call me JB? Oh, all right.
I'm sorry. You go ahead. Go ahead. I just had to point that out.
No, but y'all are saying the reason why we doing this podcast is you got to rightfully divide this thing, right? So she put it
from bad to worse. This went from bad to worse. It won't get no better. I had to stop reading. I was like, hold on.
Look,
a podcast on this. What?
Look at what she said. Words of affirmation: encourage, affirm, appreciate, listen actively.
Mm-hmm.
Actions it takes: send an unexpected note, text, or card. Things to avoid: not recognizing or appreciating effort. Right. So she goes through this thing, guys. She goes through this thing: physical touch, nonverbal use of body language, and touch to show love. Hugs, kisses, cuddling. Avoid physical neglect or abuse. Right. And then she just receiving gifts. Thoughtfulness, make your spouse a priority. Give thoughtful gifts and gestures, right? She's going unenthusiastic gift receiving, forgetting special occasion. Mm-hmm. Well, this is like I went through this thing, right? Acts of service, letting them know you are wanting to help to lighten their load, make them breakfast or dinner, go out of your way to help with chores, lacking follow through on small and large tasks. And look at what she said. Let's be honest, this crap is junk teen box psychology.
Look, I had to read.
Hold on. Look at what she said. Worse, a couple who reads this trash and thinks it's a sin instead of a failure. But see, Rhonda, that's why I like that you said it works. And TLC, I'm glad you said no. I said no because what this lady has done is pretty much identified what we identified. If your environment is selling this, if your environment is using this and they can control that environment, or like we said, rocky road, coming off of a rough patch, all that kind of stuff, and you need something to hold on to before you decide if you're just going to call it quits, this may help. But what this lady is saying is these Christian people, and y'all ever notice that when a couple goes through a divorce, I'm going to tell you this, TLC, when a couple goes through a divorce, y'all ever notice people who do marriage counseling at church don't qualify for couples counseling
right.
in the legal system? Look, they won't allow you to use the person who doing marriage counseling at church.
There's a reason for that.
They won't allow the woman who run the children's ministry to do co-parenting classes. They notice they don't use the government will not let you use the church people to actually do the program that you got to do in order to either try to stop getting a divorce or to complete the divorce.
I think part of it's because they don't really get to the core of the problem with the couple. Like, okay, your significant other cheated on you. You gonna go to the 5 love languages and be like, oh, well, you didn't give him enough words of affirmation. That's why he cheated on you.
Well, see, no. See, that's what you got to understand, right? This is what you got to understand. What you're saying right there, these love languages, if you dig deep into this, this is not what he was trying to do was take a preventative approach to this thing. But anytime you go into a church, one of the biggest things that's being challenged is the marital setup, right? This is why this lady is coming in. Look at what she said, right? Oh, and why does this crappy graph listed under things to avoid specific to physical touch is physical abuse? Why is that just not a given?
Yeah.
Is he reminding himself of his Christian buddies? And why does
he's trying to be controlling and abusive?
And TLC, that's what I'm trying to tell you, right? You got to look. You're looking at y'all need to go back and listen, man. Go back through the playlist and look at what we've been talking about on relationships. But I think this was a good book. I think this was something that started off small and grew bigger than what the religious walls could have. Because now you got these words of affirmation. Notice the graph is what took off. The book didn't. Because the graph doesn't mention God. It doesn't mention prayer. It doesn't mention. This lady has clearly read the whole book.
Oh yeah.
But that graph, you notice it has nothing to do with the actual religious components of it. And that's why y'all got to understand this guy's no different than like a John Maxwell. John Maxwell was a preacher. Well, don't nobody remember John Maxwell being a preacher
Right.
because he's a key. He's only known for leadership now, but he started off as a preacher. And so TLC, this is what I loved about it. This lady just took this man apart. Is he says in an interview with HuffPost, Chapman denies any gendered love languages. However, go read for yourself the contents in this book, especially the ones written for men. It is geared mainly toward his ridiculous belief that women are intrinsically materialistic and they need validation through items. Right? And then she said, next is quality time. If a couple is not spending time where their attention is focused on their partner, then they've got problems far beyond a self-help book here. Mm-hmm. But I want to go back in here. Geared mainly toward his ridiculous beliefs that women are materialistic, intrinsically materialistic, and they need validation through items. Now, I don't disagree with him right there. Go try to ask a woman to get married and don't have a ring. Go tell a woman you're going to get a cup.
That doesn't make a woman materialistic. That's part of the process.
But Rhonda, ain't nothing wrong with
up your coin to get the stuff. That's part of what you do when you
Rhonda,
ask a woman to be married.
I ain't saying. Look, I ain't saying. See, I don't see nothing wrong with a woman being materialistic. All I know is that when you got engaged, what did they tell you? Her ring must be a minimum. Her ring must be a minimum of 2.5 times your monthly check. That's what they told you.
Materialistic means like gold digger or only out for certain things. Or
okay, so go back to our podcast where we talked about gold diggers necessary, right? So the reason why I'm going there, and I just want to this lady ripped him. This lady ripped him a new one, and what she got to understand. The only reason I'm going through this is not to.
You see that caption? You see that caption under that photo? Please just read it.
Oh yes, hold on. Sorry. Yeah, rich white people using Jesus to maintain their wealth.
That part.
Look, he does have about 20 books out there.
Look, I got to stop sharing this thing. Hold on. Yeah. I got to stop sharing this. Rhonda called it. Look, rich white people.
And I can't see that far.
So. Guys, look. This is the number one thing, guys. Look. The key to lasting relationships, when we use these love languages, we think they have a place. I think all three of us can agree that they have a place, but they may not have a place in the direction that he used it from a standpoint of no different than a horoscope, right? And y'all know I always tell people this. Nobody falls in love with you. They fall in love with what you do. The first question is, what's your name? The second question is, what do you do? And however you answer that question will determine what's going to happen in this relationship. That love language don't matter, TLC. How you answer that second question, right? And so what happens, I remember when I used to be a consultant, and my mentor called me. He was like, yeah, Jeff, you know what we call consultants, right? People who are unemployed, but they need somebody to give them a check. And I died laughing, right? So you realize these things, guys. And I think that what we got to do with this book is that it's not the key to lasting relationships, but it's a tool that can possibly be used. It's a tool that can possibly be used when you're looking at a person's behavior and you're looking to confirm something. I don't want to put you in a box, but okay, you know what? If you always asking me to run the Publix, if you always asking me to run errands and that kind of thing, okay, I get it. But what I can't do is say, man, I wish you would be this love language, right? Because most guys going to look at this and say, I want a woman who does this. Most women going to look at it and say, I want a man who does this. Instead of saying, oh, this is the natural tendencies of the person that I'm with. Oh, I can see that. TLC, jump in and let me know what you think.
I'm just thinking that, like, when you look at human beings, we're supposed to be like this evolved species, but we have the biggest trouble with love than anything else on the planet. It's almost like all the other animals, they don't have to force anything. It's like a basic instinct for them to figure out love. This is what I need. This is what I need to keep myself going through the woods or whatever. whether it's a bear, they don't have to figure things out. They don't have to have categories. They're like, hey, I'm here now. You're here now. Are we going to do
Let's
this?
do it.
Either yes,
Yes.
or no, and that's it.
Right there.
And it's almost like as we get more evolved, more cultured, we get further away from love almost.
See, TLC,
Just
we got to stop talking about the wrong kind of love. And this is another podcast for another day. Y'all know, go to the Gospels. Jesus said it clearly. If you love me, you're going to keep my commandments. We done turn love into this emotional thing that cannot be captured. This is why so many people are struggling with it. So he called it the love languages, but they should have just been the behavior languages. Because once you tie love to it, now all of a sudden, the love we got taught is fleeting. It changes from day to day, right? How does somebody, look, where a man's treasure is, that's where his heart is, right? So how do I, look, if I can show you that if I care about you, there has to be money spent. Well, what if, like Rhonda said on the previous podcast, when things get taught in America, we just teach it all wrong. You cannot be with a woman. You cannot be with a woman and there not be a treasure spent on her. It tells you right there. If my heart is there, my treasure is there. She says she wants something, you get it, right? The same thing. Love is not this emotional thing that we got taught. Love is this thing that says, you give me commandments, I enjoy keeping them because it benefits me. I give you commandments and you enjoy keeping them because it benefits me, right? The number one thing, we're getting away from the logical part of love. If he would have just called this the 5 behavioral languages, if you see your spouse doing this, this, and this is her language. But it's the same reason why we took horoscopes out of control. Now, I'm a Leo, so I can't get with a Cancer. No, you learn these things, and then you try to put these things on people instead of understanding. Love is simple. Go back into the scripture when Jesus said, Peter, do you love me? Yeah, God, I love you. Okay, feed my sheep. What? No. What do you mean? Do you love me? Yeah, I love you. Ask him. But feed my sheep. He didn't know what it meant. Because what was God telling him? I'm giving you a commandment. If you don't follow the commandment, you don't love me. So all you got to do, TLC, go tell any woman. Rhonda, go tell any man, or for sake of the podcast, go tell any man or any woman, no matter what your preference is, for the sake of the podcast. For the sake of the podcast.
Women, but go ahead.
Right? But my point to you, go give them a commandment. If they say N-word, please, okay, she don't love me. But it don't mean I don't hate her. It don't mean I hate her. If she say N-word, please, and don't do it, that just means, okay, she don't love me. It doesn't, this emotional love that you get from the Greek gods and all this stuff that kind of condition us. That TLC, you brought up a good point about animals. The animals understand hierarchy and commands. The lioness knows what to do when the lion is there. She already know. Why? Because it's about commandments. It's about hierarchy and order. We took that out of love. And until you bring that back, I can walk up to people and tell people, man, you don't love me. Well, Jeff, how you know I love you? You don't keep my commandments. Mm-hmm. You ain't no God or nothing. No, I ain't trying to be a God. But if I give you a commandment and you don't do it, it just means you don't love me. It don't mean we can't do business together. It don't mean we can't be. It just means you don't love me. Jump in there, Ron. Let me know what you think.
No, it just reminds me of the quote by James Baldwin. I can't believe what you say because I see what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's one of my favorite quotes, right?
Yeah.
And so, because people, believe me, but your actions ain't lining up with what it is.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, but again, though, right? He said, he told them people in that interview, people won't read an academic book. That's why the biological languages won't work. They won't read an academic. Doing on this podcast and talking about relationships, we know what works.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that's what he did. He just did it under the guise of being a fake doctor and a fake all this, fake all that. We real people having real conversations. So y'all don't call it fake.
We just telling y'all this conversation. We telling y'all.
Yeah.
And guess what? Just Ron, see, it all comes back to the scripture. Rissa Kate light me up in the chat. She light me up in the chat, which is fine. I'm used to it. But guess what? If you don't believe me for the words that I say, believe me for the works that I do. The people who I love in my life, they know it. Why do they know it? Damn, Jeff didn't sacrifice. Jeff didn't gave me something tangible. You can't love me and not give me something tangible. And guess what, Rhonda? What you just said, like I said, the scriptures tell you, if you don't believe me for my words, believe me for my works. And then guess what you just said? The scriptures talk in parables.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you say he talked in parables? So people that don't need to know won't know.
I don't know.
We missing the whole point. We missing the whole point because these love languages should have just been behavioral languages. But you can't say behavior because I ain't your child. He ain't about to tell me how to act. So he called it love languages because he knew you've been taught wrong about love languages or love in general. And now you think love means I can control the way this person acts. When realistically, your DNA already knows how to act. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know TLC. Jump in there, man. Jump in there. Let me know what you think.
Oh no! I saw part of the comments.
Oh yeah, she on fire tonight. Don't worry
It
about
just
it.
popped up, but I can't
She on
click on
fire.
it because it's my thing. But no,
Yeah.
I just think when people make it way more complicated than it needs to be. But I think he just wrote a book, and it was a bestseller. And I think if it applies to your life, and you can get something positive out of it, then so be it. But
And he made a grip.
I'm not
Yeah.
knocking the
Right
dude.
people.
Rich white people preserving their wealth off of Jesus.
Yes.
If it's working for you, hey, if it works for you, it works for you.
But TLC, I think that's the whole key, right? I think that's the whole key. We better realize that what makes a person love you has nothing to do with the person's behavior. It has everything to do with the fact that are you operating in purpose, vision, and mission? Right? Because like Miles Monroe said, what did he say? Where purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. And a lot of people don't have a purpose for themselves. They don't have a purpose for their relationship, all that kind of stuff. It's hard to stay focused out here. That's why I like that Rhonda said in the beginning that, look, man, for this particular situation, this is good. Right? This is why, look, what I disagree with the lady who ripped him. I disagree with the lady who ripped him is she got to understand it ain't his fault it moved out of the church. It ain't his fault. Right? I think all three of us can agree with that. You ended up getting a book that somebody ended up saying, hey man, we can use this out of here. They don't want all the religious jargon and Bible talk. But just that graph alone is, if you put it in, that graph pops up everywhere on Google. And I think what we got to learn is just know when you look into the key to a lasting relationship, the key to a lasting relationship is you got to be operating on a goal and a target that's objective, not subjective and not based on feelings. And I think what he did was, the reason why this lady ripped him is that she's probably had people coming in her office and they probably on the brink of divorce or got divorced because they were like, we tried the love languages and it didn't work. Notice she's not ripping DISC assessments. She's not ripping Myers-Briggs. She's not ripping those personality assessments that you get. But she ripping this one. Why? Because she clearly has a problem with religion. TLC, what's your final thoughts for the night, man, as we get out of here?
Well, the original question was, does it help your relationship last? I still say no, just because I think there's deeper things that you need to look at. I think it might help you out in the short term as far as identifying maybe your next step or what you need to do, but I think it's going to be a lot deeper than just 5 languages. It's kind of like a horoscope. You can look at it, kind of say, okay, it gives me some direction, but I wouldn't make that my main focus. So
Okay. I mean, okay, I was expecting a little bit more, man. That's a little weak sauce for the closing argument, ain't it?
not really. That summed everything up. I mean,
The article stood back.
when I first heard it, I didn't really put that much weight to it. I still don't put a whole lot of weight to it. Not to say he's completely off or crazy, but I just think there's more to love than 5 categories.
So that's another podcast topic in the future. There's more to love. TLC, you want to share something with the audience? Or, I mean, I can turn over moderator duties to you.
I don't think you could just define love on a sheet of paper.
I just defined it for you.
Lord have mercy.
When it's in the book, go read it. It's in the Gospels. Go read it. Gotta eat them up, y'all. Rhonda, what's your closing thought as we get ready to get out of here?
Okay. I want to do a couple of things. I want to shout out the Real Cigar K in the audience. Appreciate all the comments and the interaction that you've been doing.
Oh my God.
Our podcast for the past
Don't encourage
months. Been doing this, so appreciate that.
Don't encourage.
I can't talk on this podcast, so I can't respond in the chat. So just got to do that. I just want to close with my girl Tina Turner. What's love got to do with it? That's such a strong statement to speak for itself. But I do think if you are of a like she broke it down, if you are of a certain group, of a certain environment, this book was probably your saving grace to maintain whatever type of
Mm-hmm.
religious relationship you have.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that could probably last with a relationship is two people working at it and wanting it to last. But love shouldn't have that much weight on it because we have a common goal. We need to be on the same path. Let's go on that path. Keep the main thing the main thing. But again, when you get unsure of yourself, you're gonna need a book like the 5 Love Languages because you don't have nowhere else to go. So back to you, JB.
Okay, Rhonda preaching. Rhonda, y'all know my closing thought, man. Love is not an emotion. Love is a directive. And if you don't have any directives because you are not headed somewhere, and a lot of marriages and relationships are like a rudderless ship. You ask them where they're going and what they're trying to do, they can't answer it. Love is a directive, which means you need a direction so that you'll know where to go. All this other behavior stuff is just things to hide the fact that you ain't going nowhere. Right. And so now my takeaway from it, guys, is to make sure that when you read this book, there's different levels in every relationship. Know the level you on. And you might be in that emotional phase. But a relationship does not get good until you can get into the logical phase. Because then a lot of the fights stop, a lot of the frustration stops, and you can just start to enjoy each other. But you can't be a rudderless ship trying to feed your emotions that going to change based on the wind. And make sure that whatever you subscribe to, it can translate across all barriers. What works, right? At the end of the day, gas works in all cars except Teslas. Okay, if the car's a gas car, any gas station will work. And so one of the things we got to understand is make sure what you subscribing to is not something you picked up because you don't leave an environment and you're limited in your exposure to other things, man. And y'all know what it is. It's the Smoke Something, Drink Something podcast. Y'all do me a favor. Look below in the description. Get the merch. Support the channel. We on our way to 100,000. Y'all get the merch, man. Y'all see TLC holding it up. Real people having real conversation, pint glass, man. Support the channel. We on our way to 100,000 subscribers, man. I know y'all thinking I'm gonna get there. I'm almost at $4,000. But you know what? I'm operating by faith. And I know I just said don't say stuff that don't go barriers. Don't we got 96,000 to go. I'm gonna get there. But man, I appreciate y'all. Look below in the description. Get the merch. Support the channel. And man, y'all know I got to thank my panel for coming on. TLC, remind them where they can find you at on the socials, brother.
I'm on Instagram at T.O. Clayton #1 and at Patreon, The Joke I Didn't Tell.
Man, appreciate you being on, brother. Rhonda, let them know. Let them know, man. Appreciate you coming on straight out of the CEU class. Let them know where they can find you at on Instagram.
RMB LMBT on IG.
Man, and y'all know what it is. I'm the Real Cigar Jeff. You can find me on Instagram at the Real Cigar Jeff. On Facebook at the Smoke Something, Drink Something podcast. Do me a favor, man, before y'all get out of here, hit that like button, turn on that subscribe button, and hit that bell for notifications, man. And until next time, we gon' holler. Yeah.
It's your boy JB, live and direct to you. You know what it is. Like and subscribe to.
Ha 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 ha.